Alexandria, an Access and Outreach Specialist, Recruitment Specialist, or Admissions Counselor for the University of Houston. I've been with the university almost 3 years now, but ever since college, I've always worked in some form of higher ed field.
Awesome. And go Cougs. I'm a UH alumni. Thanks, Alexandria. Brenda.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. My name is Brenda Ramirez. I am the admissions representative for Purdue University, which is actually located in West Lafayette, Indiana, for those of you who are not familiar. So we are an out-of-state. I've been working with the university for less than a year. So although I'm new in my role here based out of Austin, Texas, I'm actually pretty familiar with Purdue in general. I am a Purdue alumna. So I went to school there. I grew up in the Midwest, and now I have the pleasure of recruiting some future Texan Boilermakers.
That's awesome. And I love that background. It looks so, that campus looks so beautiful.
Yeah, it's our quad, and it does get cold. So it's covered in snow during the winter time. It looks really pretty in the spring and the summer.
Awesome. Thanks, Brenda. Guy?
Hello, everybody. I'm Guy Graugnard. I work for the University of Texas at Dallas, but I'm based right here in Houston, actually in the Sugar Land area. I've been working for the university for 17 years, started back in 2003 when my daughter went to UTD. That freshman class was right around 10,000. The freshman class was 1,000. This year it'll be 4,000. So we're almost at 30,000 students. And what you're seeing in the background is $1 billion worth of upgrades. So the school has grown not only academically, but also physically. So, and we look forward to joining the campus one more time.
So nice to have you today, Guy. Thank you all of you for joining us. And with that, I want to introduce Sonia Nihalini, who is our intern at Impact Hub Houston. Sonia, would you say a little bit about yourself? And then I'll kick it off to you to go ahead and start our panel discussion.
I'm in high school, so I'm planning to apply to college in the next couple of months, which is kind of where the whole idea stems from. And I'm just hoping that this project could ultimately shed some light on the changes that are happening as a result of COVID-19. And with that, I think we should get started with the first question, which is how is your specific university planning to handle accepting scores such as the SAT or ACT?
Okay, I'll start first. So one thing we did do with everything that's going on in the pandemic for students that were still trying to apply for fall, so our seniors, of course, we decided, our Board of Regents voted and decided to waive our test requirements. So typically we go, we use the Texas automatic admissions rules with the rank, we'll determine the minimum test score you need, but we went into a holistic review approach. So with waiving the test score, students that weren't able to, take an ACT or SAT, we were, then able to create a checklist for them that allows them to, submit a resume, 2 letters of recommendation, a personal statement in the absence of a test score. As far as anything for like fall 2021 or any of our, 2021 academic classes, we don't have any news yet. Similar to probably like a lot of other places, like just depends on what happens. So like this was a temporary change to our admissions policies and practices. So I like to let students know that. I know y'all said earlier we have juniors and seniors. So seniors, you can still apply if you have not taken a test, either the ACT or SAT. As far as my juniors, we don't know what's going to happen for your application cycle yet.
And for Purdue, so we're a little bit different that we are an out-of-state institution, so the 10% does not apply to us. We do a holistic review of applicants, and moving forward, so starting this upcoming recruitment cycle, fall 2020, for those seniors applying, we are still requiring that SAT or SAT score. We do not have any preference. However, we are encouraging students to take advantage of the online test that College Board as well as ACT will be proctoring in the fall, and to hopefully get a test in prior to our November 1 early action deadline. Of course, keeping this in mind, we understand that some students might not be able to take it as many times as they would have hoped for initially. And so because of that, test scores may be required. However, we understand that they might not be as high for this upcoming cycle as they have been historically for our applicant pool.
And I guess I'm next. So for the seniors, application deadline, we've moved it out from May to July 1st, so you can still apply. We are on a case-by-case basis, admitting you. Of course, if you're in the top 10%, that'll make it a lot easier without an ACT or SAT. If you're not in the top 10%, then you'll be holistically reviewed. And then for fall 2021, well, that application cycle will open up August 1st. Again, if you're in the top 10%, you'll be automatically admitted. Everybody else will be holistically reviewed. As of this moment, we're still requiring the ACT and SAT, but that is under discussion right now, and we should have a decision. So check back with our website, and that decision will be posted sooner than later. I mean, the good news out of this is a lot of the seniors are taking AP exams, being proctored online in front of their computers. So College Board has learned through this process that they can allow students to take tests on their own and I believe that's given College Board some confidence that they can possibly do this for the SAT. And I know they added some dates in September. So hopefully by the knowledge that College Board has learned about AP proctoring, that maybe that'll carry over for the SAT as well.
All right, thank you. So our next question is going to be, if your university chooses to make these tests optional, will a good score have a smaller weight in comparison to how it used to be in previous years?
So I'm gonna restate I didn't get that question, but let me just restate it to make sure I have it. So you're asking if a student was to score like what we deem to be a high score, will that carry a different weight in our admissions decision, basically, right?
Yes.
No. And again, we haven't, if we were to choose anything, if we were to accept test scores still, then it's gonna be the same it has been always. Because that's a whole nother policy change if we change like the test we take.
Yeah, and again, because we're not going test optional at this moment, that also would not apply for us.
Okay.
Yeah, now as far as UTD, as of right now, we're going to still look at the test score. We do super score the SAT and ACT. We don't, I'm sorry, we super score the SAT. We don't super score the ACT yet. But that means you can take the SAT as many times as you want, and we'll take the highest math and the highest critical reading and add those two together. If you go to our website, and there's basically a mid-range, which will show you, of course, if you're in the top 10%, there's no particular test score required. Of course, the higher the test score, probably the more the money, because that scholarships have generally been based on GPA, class rank, test score. And that's why it's kind of important. We're not, we've been used to awarding scholarships based on test score. And that's one of the things a lot of colleges are having to deal with. If you throw that out, how we're going to financially reward you for your academics. So, but we'll work through all this process, but that's how it works right now.
Okay, sounds great. So our third question is if your college will extend early decision or regular decision deadlines in light of COVID-19 situations.
So we don't have an early decision deadline. We just have a priority scholarship deadline, which is always November 15th. If that will change, we haven't decided yet. You know, a lot of decisions for our fall 21 applicants will probably come later this summer. But as far as right now, for any seniors in the room, we literally just extended our deadlines today. So, you know, previously it was in June, and now students have till July 17th, freshman applicants for fall. And all of that, it has been updated on our website. So if anybody needs to reference anything, it has been posted.
Yeah, and so for Purdue, for any seniors that are in the room, so our regular decision deadline is typically January 15th. That can go longer if we still have room in some of our programs. This year, we actually had to close the application in the second week of March. So we stopped accepting applications there. We have extended our offer acceptance deadline, which is where students can tell us that they're coming to Purdue from May 1 to June 1. However, we are still gonna keep same dates. At this moment, we're keeping the same dates for this upcoming recruitment cycle. So students should still plan to apply in August. So our application opens August 1st. We actually just made the change where we're only accepting Common App now. We used to do Common App and Coalition App. However, now students will have to apply through the Common App if they want to apply for Purdue. Our early action deadline is November 1. It is not binding, so it just means that you will be the first ones to find out. It's also our deadline for any scholarship considerations. So if you apply by November 1, you'll also be considered for all of our merit-based scholarships. And then also if you're interested in the Honors College, which is our honors program, you also have to apply by November 1. And then again, we'll still keep January 15th as a regular tentative decision deadline based on program availability. So it may close soon after that, or it may still stay open until March like it did this year.
Yeah, UTD does not have early decision or early action or regular decision. Basically, we go by the May 1st deadline. So if you were a senior and you got admitted to UTD, you should let your college know that you're coming or not coming so they can make plans. Now, one of the things we've done this year for the Academic Excellence Scholarship students that were awarded that scholarship, that normally they would have normally had to select and accept that scholarship by May 1st. But due to all this fun stuff we're in right now, we've extended that to June 1st. So if you were awarded an academic excellence scholarships, you probably this week were bombarded by a lot of emails letting us know that if you want to take the money, because as of June 1st, if you don't accept it, it's gone. Now, as far as for that academic excellence scholarship for fall 2021, we want all the documents in by December the 1st. So we do rolling admissions. So once we have your application, your high school transcript, and your SAT score, we process. So for example, if you decide you want to apply August 1st, you could possibly be admitted before you even return as a senior. Of course, right now, all the classes are online. We finished the spring online. We did summer session 1 online. We're doing summer session 2 online. And we may have fall online. We just don't know. It just all depends on how we have to work this process to make sure that we're all safe. But that's where we sit right now.
Sounds great. Thank you. So our next question goes a little bit more in depth on what students are supposed to do during this time. What would you advise students to do in this time where many have lost opportunities to build their resume through things like internships and research opportunities?
This is a really good question that I actually had to talk to my supervisor, our director of recruitment, about as far as advice to give. And with, you know, having this pretty deep in-depth discussion with him, you know, I can't speak for every office, but our office is very understanding of the times we're in right now. Like with no after school activities for the most part, or sports, or like some students, you know, chose to keep working if they were allowed to. And some students chose, you know, not to work for safety, health reasons. And, you know, everybody's COVID experience is different. So I think it depends on your age, right? Or what grade level you're in. So if you're a senior right now, right, just being truthfully honest, your resume shouldn't have just had extracurricular activities on it like this semester. You know what I mean? Like it should have started your freshman year, you know, if not freshman year, sophomore year. So you should have had something on there. Now for my juniors, kind of same thing, right? Because it's not like you're a sophomore or freshman. So you should have had something on there. And, you know, there are a variety of things you can be doing. You can be doing babysitting, working, right? It just doesn't mean to be in extracurricular activities. So I think it just depends. Now, as far as going forward, again, being very understanding of the times, in the fall, if classes don't resume to how they usually, you know, used to, and there's no extracurricular activities, then we can't hold this student to that, especially when it comes to the review process. So I think we'll be very lenient with that. You know, again, if you choose to work and you can, definitely do so. Or, you know, I see different posts all the time about like research opportunities on LinkedIn, or, you know, a lot of times your counselors are the first places, you know, you should go and stop and talk to see what they know. So again, just understanding everything that's going on, I think will be kind of lenient. And I think you shouldn't, you know, as a student, don't worry too much about it. Sorry, I know that was long-winded.
No, it was great. And I think just to emphasize what Alexandra mentions is it is important, obviously, that we'll consider everything that's going on during this time and take that into consideration as we're approaching this review process. It's going to look very, very different, I think, for a lot of institutions than it has years past. And again, just going off by what she was saying, you know, our most competitive applicants are going to be those students that have been working on building a resume, whether it's your freshman year, your sophomore year. And so obviously we don't want this to be the defining moment for you in high school, but we understand that it has had a deep impact on many high school students. That being said, this is a really great opportunity for you to really showcase your creativity, your critical thinking skills, problem solving abilities. And those are the kind of applicants that we're looking for. So thinking about, you know, how you're able to really like enhance your hobbies, learning a new skill, whether that's cooking or crocheting, or, you know, you like to blog or you want to start a blog. These are all really great opportunities for you to really delve into that and actually have the time to do something like that, especially now that we're gearing up for summer. And it's really important to, although these may not be structured by a high school club or by a community service, to keep track of those things. So, you know, create some kind of spreadsheet, write down the days and the times that you're spending on these activities, because that's going to be really useful when you're filling out applications in the fall. It's going to give you a really solid grounding for how you can expand and really kind of shape your application. You know, any duties that you have at home, I'm sure a lot of students have now taken the responsibility of being the older sibling and taking care of, you know, your younger siblings that have been out of school. Maybe you've created activities for them. Maybe you've helped around the house. These are all things that we want to hear about and see on your application. So definitely take advantage of that. And I think lastly, I know because of the terrain that we're on, a lot of our programmings are going to be virtual now. So, you know, one way that students demonstrate interest is by going on campus visits. That's really not a thing right now, right? So look for those opportunities, those virtual opportunities that a lot of these colleges are going to be having to really kind of make yourself stand out and that you have some kind of interest in that school. That this is a great time to be doing that as well.
And I guess I'm next. I've been visiting with a lot of seniors and juniors, I guess, since this thing dropped on March 30th. We've been doing a lot of virtual visits, and I do right 4, 5, 6 a day. And when I'm working with the juniors, one of the things that they've been asking me and they've been doing is going to summer school, taking care of some of those college courses now. It's a great opportunity. You can go to a community college in Houston. You got HCC, San Jack, Lone Star. We can provide you with all the college courses, knock out all those basic classes, the history, the government, the stuff that you probably don't want to take anyway. and get it knocked out. And of course, it's a lot less expensive to do it on a community college budget than it is at a four-year university. So, you know, unless a school has a problem with that, and we don't, you know, you may want to take a look at, and we have degree plans for every major we have. We have 140 majors, 8 schools. I've been sending out the degree plan for each student for every major, so they know exactly if they want to, they're like going into Clements and they want to go over to Wharton County Junior College. And of course, you can do it from your house because it's all online. So you can knock out somebody's classes in 4 or 5 weeks, and that'll save you some time, especially if you're thinking about having a professional career like a doctor or a lawyer, and maybe you want to graduate, you want to have a fast track in the medical school, take your MCAT your junior year. This can really expedite the process and save you some money at the same bat. So you may want to think about that.
Sonia, and may I add actually one more thing to that? So I love that. I think a couple of them, you guys touched on this already, but this is definitely an opportunity to create opportunity as well. And so everybody's home, everyone's remote. How can you better make use of your time right now? And for Impact Hub Houston, for example, we work around people that want to solve problems, and we help provide resources for you to be able to do that. And so whether it's through entrepreneurship or through getting creative and putting together some type of tech-related virtual session, that's what Impact Hub Houston is also here to do. And just like Sonia reached out to us about what she could do this summer, and then we came up with this project that she fully executed with guidance from us, there could be a similar opportunity, not just with Impact Hub Houston, but with any other organization across the city that if you're interested in animals, for example. Local shelters need a lot of assistance virtually. Maybe some data processing or some administrative things. There's definitely room for you to create your own internship per se to add to your resume this summer. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, sounds great. So the next question is it, in your personal opinion, a good idea to center some of your essays around COVID-19, or do you think we should be sticking to more broad personal topics?
I think it just depends. So everybody's COVID experience is a lot different. You know, like some people, you know, if you read articles like I do all the time, like, you know, where some students don't have Wi-Fi, some students, you know, don't have a laptop, or, you know, you have students that like families where there's only one computer in the house and maybe there's 3 siblings and the parents have to work, you know, remote as well. So what that looks like. I think the best thing to highlight is, you know, just resiliency. So anything that shows you persevered and resilient. If COVID happens to be like the biggest thing, and basically like you know, Michelle was saying earlier, you have to get creative, then sure. But if there's another story, I also think it just depends on the essay question. So a lot of us, right, have prompts. So we want you to answer the prompt, like just don't go off script. So I think it depends. So we want you to, that's like a big thing that we're noticing with these essays we're getting now with a holistic review. Students aren't answering the questions at all. They're just writing what they want to write about. If the institution allows you just to write a general personal statement, sure. But if they ask a question, please make sure you're answering the question. A specific question, I should say. Answer it.
Yes, and for those of you who are applying through a Common App, I know they have already basically said that the prompts will be the same for next year. So again, that's something great that you could start on this summer. If you're going to apply in the fall, is start kind of crafting that essay. My advice is usually the same advice I give to students, regardless of the time of year, is, you know, you really want to write something that's authentic and genuine and true to you. Really use that personal essay, obviously as long as it follows the prompt, to really add or enhance your application. You know, some students tend to either elaborate on something that they're really passionate about or a really life-changing experience. And so if COVID-19 was that for you, then yes, please, by all means, write about that. but it's also really important to kind of keep in perspective. Again, you know, this one moment does not define you. It's really all of your experiences that make you who you are as a person. And that's really what we want to know. We want to know more about you, more beyond the grades and the activities and, you know, your internship career, things like that. We want to know you personally, and that essay is a really great way to showcase that. So really just go into it thinking that way, and I feel like you can't go wrong. Additionally, I think it's really important to also keep in mind that everybody's going through something similarly. It's going to look different, but when you're receiving, so we get over 50,000 applications a year. We read all of our essays. A lot of these essays start sounding the same once you get, you know, plus 5,000 of these. So you also have to think about what's going to make you stand out as an applicant. So I think that's also a good perspective to keep in mind.
And as far as UTD is concerned, of course, if you're in the top 10%, you're automatically admitted. The essay, letters of rec are optional. But if you want to be holistically reviewed, if you fall into that category, we're not in the top 10%, and you don't have a competitive ACT or SAT, that's when we dive into the essay. And we go by the applied Texas prompts, and they have we'll take A, B, or C. So if C19 blends into one of those prompts and one of those essays, then I would say that's the one you want to pick. And so if you think your file is going to be holistically reviewed, pick one of the essays that'll tie in with that as well. We'll take up to 3 letters of recommendation, resume, and you may have a personal statement where you want to include something along the lines of C19. Because when you do go through the holistic review, we do look at everything. I'm done.
Okay, sounds great. So do we have time for another question, or?
Yeah, if you have one more, and then we'll do breakout rooms.
Okay. What is the biggest piece of advice you can give to students planning to apply for fall 2021?
Actually pretty basic. So like whether fall 2021, 2022, 2020, well, we already passed 2022, but read the application. Like make sure you are double, triple checking what you put on the application. So we have students that like misspell their name, and not by like 1 or 2 letters. Like, you know, you accidentally type the letter next to the one you were really trying, but like 3 and 4 letters. And so like on the back end, it's a lot harder to go back in and fix those complications, like those little small errors. So I tell students, like, don't rush, like, don't wait till the day of, because, you know, you're just typing away. Like, take your time, like, read what it's really asking and be truthful on the application. But the biggest thing is just double and triple check what you're actually typing. You know, if it's an essay component or you're getting a letter of recommendation, it's okay to ask that teacher or counselor, like, hey, can I read it beforehand? Because we've had counselors send, like, I've had counselors send to me like a recommendation letter that was for another school. You know what I mean? So like just taking your time and double checking what you're actually putting on the app. And that is for not just college, but for any form of application form that you're doing. I'm sorry, I have 2. When you call the admissions office or any office on a college campus, it's okay to ask the name of who you're speaking to and write it down. So we have students, you know, we're doing this, like we're seeing it a lot now with our virtual advisings, our one-on-one appointments, where students are like, I called and spoke to someone and they told me blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, well, who did you speak to? So, you know, maybe I can follow up with them and see. I don't know. You know, so those it's just basic advice, but I'm telling you, it goes a long way. Knowing who you speak to, and just being mindful and double checking what you're actually writing down on these applications.
Yeah, I think for me, and this is advice that I'll take myself as well, is remember to breathe. I feel like right now there are so many unknowns. I know a lot of students don't know when they're going to go back to school, if they're going to be able to get back into their, routine of seeing their friends and hanging out and being in extracurricular activities. And then on top of that, you're going to be applying to college, right? And so at times it can definitely feel very overwhelming when you don't have control of certain situations, but it's just so important to breathe and to remember that you have so many resources available to you, especially during these challenging times. People have really just come together and rallied around, helping one another. So really make use of those resources, really seek out the help, and don't feel like you have to go through this process by yourself.
Yeah, as far as the application is concerned, I think that's what we're talking about, right? How to get ready for the application. I mean, do it. My recommendation, I'm running into situations right now where mom and dad filled out the application and they filled it out for summer session 1, and now we're having to change it to fall 2020. So we do recommend that the student does do the application. And that probably helps out quite a bit. That eliminates a lot of errors that may happen if mom and dad take over and do too much. And then there's a lot of ways that you can also get your fee waived. We do Scholars Day, we do Preview Fridays, we do a lot of events now. They are all virtual, so you can do just like we're doing today. I mean, we use Microsoft Teams, not Zoom, but it's the same format. And this Friday, we're going to be doing a virtual Preview Friday, and that's for transfer students. We'll be doing other events for fall 2021 students. But by just attending one, by registering and by attending one of these events, we'll waive your application fee. And so, and we will process your application fee without payment. So if you decide you want to apply to UTD, and you're going to attend one of these virtual events, just check fee waiver. I'll process your application fee and get going with it. So, but yeah, it's probably important that you may do the application on your own.
Okay, sounds good. I think now is when we're going to transition into the breakout rooms.
Yes, thank you so much, Sonia. Wow, like y'all left me with a lot of takeaways myself. I'm not in college anymore, but I'll definitely be passing those along. Please give a round of applause to our panelists today. Thank you so much for your guidance. And yes, now we'll be moving on to the second portion of this session,